everyone, I wanted to go through today and explain the final exam procedures in case you missed it in class or if I went too fast. So please just follow along with this when you go ahead and try to complete your final exam. When you open up your document, this is going to be the first page that you find. This is, think of it as like a table of contents page, and it's going to give you all of the different things that are included within this document. So first and foremost, please don't get overwhelmed. When it shows you all of these different things, you're not completing all of these. Notice that there are lots of choices. Okay, so biggest thing first and foremost. We're going to go through and break down the topics, how you're going to submit your information. I'll show you a quick preview of the rubric, and then a couple of the quick check-ins that you need to complete along the way. One of them is going to be on the 19th. One of them is going to be on the 20th, and then your final product submission is going to be due on January 22nd. I'll come back and talk about in-text citations when we get to that in the document. However, if you need support from these, they are linked here. Anything in this document that has a blue underline is an active link. All right, so let's talk about the different topics. There are 3 choices that you can look at for this final exam. You only need to choose one. Your first topic choice is microeconomics. We chose different topics from this semester that might be the most relevant to you or you might have the best understanding. The first one is microeconomics. So here's what you need to do to complete this assignment. Using the documents provided below. Let me pause there. These are the documents that are provided. For any of these 3 options, please don't do outside research. Use the documents we provided so it makes it a little bit more streamlined and more easy for you so that you don't have to do extra research. So when we talk about sources or documents, we're talking about these active links that are down here on all 3 of these different topics. So again, using the documents provided below as evidence, explain how supply and demand determinants affect the consumption and production of goods and services in a market economy. You'll also need to discuss at least one demand determinant and one supply determinant and discuss how they affect price. So when we talk about determinants, you want to think back to when we talked about supply and demand and we did timer and tigers. So we had timer, taste and preferences, income, members of population, consumer expectations, and then our related goods, complementary and substitute goods. And then you had tigers, changes in technology, changes in the cost of inputs, changes in government regulations with subsidies, changes in producer expectations, changes in regulations and taxes, and then a change in the number of suppliers. So you would have to talk about one of those on both sides. Again, using these documents as evidence to prove your point. Your next option to choose from is macroeconomics. Using 2 of the 3 economic indicators. When we talk about economic indicators, we're thinking GDP, unemployment, and inflation. Determine if the United States economy is currently healthy or unhealthy. When we say currently healthy, I don't mean today on January 14th, 2021. I mean according to these documents here. They might not be current, but they're relatively within the last couple of years. After you're assessing whether the economy is healthy or unhealthy, you're going to determine what the United States government and or the Federal Reserve should do given the current state. So essentially, if the economy is overheated, if it needs to be cooled down, what policies would you put in place? If the economy is underperforming, it needs to be sped up, it's not doing too well, you want to say what you're going to put in place. So again, U.S. government, you're thinking fiscal policy. Federal Reserve, you're thinking monetary policy. If you think back to our Venezuela project, this is basically the same project, but now instead of focusing on Venezuela, you're looking at the United States. Your third option is on international trade. This one might be the most fresh in your head, so it might be an option to do, but it's completely up to you. Your question you're answering is, how does globalization impact global and domestic economies, as well as the quality of life for citizens in a specific country? Okay, so again, this one might be the most fresh on your mind. The macroeconomics, you had a huge project on it, so that one might be a better option as well. Or you might really like supply and demand determinants. It's completely up to you. Based off which one you want to do, you would select that and then delete the others from this document. Now, how do you submit your final product? You have three options for how you submit your product. Your first option is a written response. What you should really take notice on for these three different options is how much evidence and how many sources you're required to use. If you're choosing the written response, you need to give 4 pieces of evidence and use 3 different sources. Remember, those sources are provided for you within the documents or within the sheets above. Again, use 4 pieces of evidence. Be sure to read the rubric, which I'll show you in a minute, and use APA in-text citations. I'll come back when we look at our graphic organizer to show you what an in-text citation looks like. For the written response, your response should be between 300 and 500 words. Again, when I show you how to submit this, I'll show you how to check the word count. Your second option is to do a Google Slides and screencast. So you want to think sort of like what I'm doing right now. I'm going through a slideshow and I'm giving a screencast. You can either choose to show your face like I am, or it can just be an overview where you just have your voice. If you choose this option, you'll need 6 pieces of evidence and 4 different sources. Your slideshow should be at least 4 slides long. It can be longer, it's just a minimum. And then your screencast should be between 3 minutes and 5 minutes. So no shorter than 3 minutes, no longer than 5 minutes. If you go over by a little, it's okay. But the big thing is it shouldn't be anything less than 3 minutes. Finally, if you want to use the option of giving a recorded speech, you would also need to provide an outline. Recorded speech, this is kind of like if you are one of the ones who chooses to do the recorded option for CNN 10. Think something like that. Here again, you need to use 6 pieces of evidence and 4 sources. And your final product needs to be at least 3 minutes and no longer than 5 minutes long. You also need to provide an outline for this, but I've actually already created this for you, and no matter what option you're choosing, you are creating this outline. Here's your rubric. These are all the things you need to do in order to get a perfect score. We want to focus on this side because you want a perfect score, obviously. So feel free to look through this. Use it as a checklist. As you go through, maybe highlight the box and say, okay, I did this. Okay, I did this. I really strongly suggest using that as, like I said, as like a check-off list. Now, we have a couple check-in points. The first one is going to be on Tuesday, January 19th. You're off school on Monday because of Martin Luther King Day. But by Tuesday, January 19th, you need to fill out this sheet, which is blue. You're not going to hit submit on the document because I'm going to pull it up in class. You will have a live session that you're going to log into on January 19th during our class period, and you're going to have two things you need to have filled out. You need to have told me what your topic choice is and what your product choice is. So for example, you would have filled in here that I'm doing macroeconomics and I'm providing a written response. That's just an example. You'll come into the meeting, I'll pull up your document, see that you've filled this in, and then you'll be released from the meeting. The next day, January 20th, is when you'll need to complete this graphic organizer. And again, like I said, if you're doing the recorded speech, this is your outline. Here, you need to pay attention to the directions at the top. If you are choosing the product option number 1, the written response, you do not need to do these purple boxes. You can delete them or just leave them blank. Again, where we said you needed 3 sources and you needed 4 pieces of evidence. So you would just fill in these boxes. An in-text citation, again, as a reminder, that link that's on the first page will take you to this sheet. It shows you that this is what an in-text citation is. The author's last name and the year the document was published. That's all you need. So that's what needs to be going in this box. Not a long URL, not the full references pages, just the citation, in-text citation. If you're choosing to do option number 2 or 3, then you will need to fill out this entire document because again, remember you need 4 sources and you need 6 pieces of evidence. These sources are in no apparent order, and it's not the order that was listed on the screen before. It's whatever you choose. Make sure you also fill out how it's going to help you answer or argue your point. This can all be in a bulleted format because again, it's a way of generally organizing your thoughts. The final slide in this document is where you're going to submit your final product and where you're going to write your response. First and foremost, notice that it's due on Friday, January 22nd. If you're selecting product option number 1, the written response, you're going to type right in this box. Easy as that. If you need to determine the word count, you're going to use another Word document. I'm going to pull up the citation sheet just as an example. Let's say this is where my paper is. You're going to use the tools function, word count. Oh, sorry, you have to highlight the words first. Highlight so you see how much is in my document. Tools, and then word count. And then you can see that this document has 111 words. I need to add some more before I submit it. All right, and then you would just copy and paste that into this box and then hit submit. If you're doing product option 2 or 3, you need to provide some links. So if you had the option of you're doing the Google slide and the screencast, you would give me the link right here. This isn't written in your document, so you'd have to write it on your own, but you're going to say, here's the link to my Google slideshow, here's the link to my screencast. Then you can hit submit. If you only do the slides or you only do the screencast, you are going to lose points because that's not following all the directions. Finally, if you're doing the recorded speech, you would again give me the link to the recorded speech. You don't have to provide a link for the outline because that's already in the document, the slide above this one. You can also, if you want to, you could do, there's an insert video option for slides, so you could insert it directly in here. That's completely up to you. So again, this is due on January 22nd, the completed final all the way done product. You'll hit submit on this document in Schoology and you're done and out of economics. If you have any other questions, please reach out to me. If you need an individualized team meeting, feel free to ask me. Please don't try and do this on your own and in the dark. If you have questions, please reach out to me. Thank you for watching and good luck.